Hi guys, this is Naz here on SG1 Radio. How are you doing? Honestly, it's really nice, and it's actually one of my first virtual interviews of the New Year 2021. So, Happy New Year to you all. So, today I thought we'll do something a bit different. We're going to go for, I know a lot of our listeners have said we need to do some poetry specials here. So, this evening, we've decided to go for a poetry special, and I've got some special guests joining me today. So, for starters, can we please welcome? They're not strangers to SG1 Radio, so you've seen them definitely for sure. Starters, Saeed, who is joining us here as well. Saeed, who is a biomedical scientist, is a poet and also founder of Five Pillars Community. So, Saeed, how are you doing?
Hello, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, first of all, and Happy New Year to you and all the viewers and the people who's watching us.
Happy
I'm
New
good.
Year! Happy
I'm
New
good.
Year! Gosh, thank you. Thank you for
Feel,
joining us.
feeling
Um,
good and excited on your show.
Same here. And we've also got a second guest who we've also had the pleasure of interviewing on SG1 Radio, which is Mr. Siraj Zaidi, who is an actor, also a poet, and also the director of the Indian Film Festival of Ireland. So, Mr. Zaidi, how are you doing?
All well. Thank you so much, Naz, and Happy New Year to you and to your show. The very fun. Doing very well, I must say that, under the circumstances, the conditions all over the world, including Ireland now, with the new variant of this COVID, and of course in the UK, it's just gone mad completely. But alhamdulillah, the barakat is on us, and the wisdom, I suppose, at this time, as the time goes on, we all aim for basically to achieve health and safety, and we pray that everybody we know will remain happy and safe and prosperous throughout the year and all that. So from that point of view, I mean, it's okay, it's okay. We are doing well. How's the Stevenage is doing?
Oh, Stevenage, I think we, because myself and also Saeed, we don't live that far from one another. And we're in very restricted areas now. So we are actually in tier 4. And so Saeed's from Luton, I'm from Stevenage. And yeah, it's quite a scenario we've got here. So yeah, hopefully, while we're all locked up in our homes, we can entertain everyone and see how poetry really impacts us all in general. So, Saeed, you are one of our regular poetry givers on SG1 Radio, and definitely on my show as well. So,
Yes, I feel privileged that you do include my poetry in your shows time to time. And
listeners love it. So honestly, it's our privilege.
you're
I'm
welcome. You're welcome.
sorry, just my
We'll let you to fix that while I speak with Saeed. So Saeed, how do you manage to fit poetry in your busy life? Because you do so much because you work as a biomedical scientist. You're also busy with your charity as well in Luton. You're helping so many people, particularly throughout this pandemic. And also, you also go on lovely walks in these scenic places. So, how do you fit poetry in your schedule?
Look, I knew you will ask this because you know about my life. The
Yeah.
thing is, poetry is creativity.
Mhm.
It is in you naturally.
Mhm.
Is no something you had to very work hard on it. Yes, you need to work on it, and उर्दू में इसको कहते हैं कि यू इसका उतार चढ़ाव और इसकी जो बहरें हैं पोइट्री की कि जिसमें ये आप इसको कहते हैं द स्टाइल यू अडॉप्ट और जो जिसमें अल्फाज का चुनाव और उनका वजन औजान शेर का बनाना कि इट शुड प्लीज हु लिसन टू इट उस पे वर्क करना पड़ता है लेकिन जो ख्याल होता है द थॉट प्रोसेस इज नेचुरल तो होता ये है कि इसमें इतना जो चीज आपको बाय नेचर आए उसमें इतना आई डोंट थिंक वेरी टाइम कंज्यूमिंग होता है लेकिन टैलेंट है ये एक आप में और ये कुदरत की तरफ से होता है बाय नेचर बाय गॉड बाय अल्लाह बाय उनकी तरफ आपको गिफ्टेड होता है तो इसमें टाइम मिल जाता है अगर आप में ये चीज हो इफ समवेयर इन यू need to be a poet and then उसके बाद फिर कितने अच्छे आप पोएट हैं, उस पे हार्ड वर्क आ जाता है। आप दूसरों को पढ़ते हैं, यू लर्न अदर्स, द बिग नेम्स, फैज अहमद फैज साहब हमारे इंडो पाक में वेरी फेमस, डॉक्टर मोहम्मद इकबाल कॉल्ड एज पोएट ऑफ द ईस्ट उनको कहते हैं। होल वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड नोज अबाउट हिम, क्योंकि वो यहाँ से फिलोसफी करके गए थे, जर्मन एंड इंग्लैंड से पढ़ के गए थे, बट ही इज नोन ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड। तो इस तरह के लोगों को फिर आप पढ़ते हैं, यू टेक टाइम आउट सम whenever possible to read them and learn from them। फिर थॉट प्रोसेस आपका जो है वो भी ऑब्जर्वेशन से आता है, यू ऑब्जर्व थिंग्स। आई लाइक यू सेड, आई गो टू नेचर। नेचर मुझे वो करती है, उसमें कंपेल करती है, तो आई से थिंग्स अबाउट। सो मैंने नेचर पे भी नज़में कही हैं। और फिर कुछ आपको अच्छी महफिल मिल जाए, गुड पीपल अराउंड यू, यू नो, आई एम ब्लेस्ड दैट इन दिस वे के मुझे लंदन बेस्ड और कुछ उस्ताद मिल गए। उस्ताद कहते हैं जो आपको शो, यू नो, आप कुछ शायरी में ऊपर नीचे बात करते हैं, तो बिफोर यू ब्रिंग इट टू द पब्लिक, यू डिस्कस विद योर उस्ताद जी एंड लर्न फ्रॉम देम ऑल द स्किल्स ऑफ दिस एज वेल। तो इस तरह एक कुछ बंदा लकी भी होता है, नेचुरल टैलेंट भी है, एंड योर ओन पर्सनल ऑब्जर्वेशंस भी होते हैं, और कुछ लाइफ के इवेंट्स भी आपको शायर बना देते हैं, कुछ उसका भी एक शायर है। दैट्स हाउ यू नो टू फिट इन।
Wow, very beautifully said. Very beautifully said. And I think Mr. Zaidi, I think his camera must be sorted. Zaidi,
We can see you. We can see him.
I'm just trying to get rid of this roof.
no worries. I think it's part and parcel of technology as well, I think.
You are absolutely fine here on this shot.
Yeah.
ये ठीक है, हाँ, बस इधर ही छोड़ दें।
बस छोड़ दें।
That's it. ये बिल्कुल ठीक है।
Perfect. Perfect.
I totally agree with Saeed Bhai has mentioned, and I really understand exactly where you're coming from and what you said. All of that makes the poetry a poet, what a poet should be. A poet, you know, thoughts, education, background, and may I add into is the language itself, because each language has got its own nuances when it comes to the poetry. And the names you have mentioned are obviously Urdu poets of the East, Far East. And then you have English poets, you have German poets, you have French poets, you have all American poets. And poetry is sometimes it's the depth of poetry, in my opinion, is the intellect as well. Intellectuals who reflects on the society, on conditions of life, of people, of halat, what is happening around the world. They're trying to actually funnel it through words into a couplets, into a thought, into a a situation. And as you know, from our film industry, our songs and ghazals are based upon situation. So a filmmaker, a director will ask a poet like Javed Akhtar Saab, who's a good friend of mine.
Masha, big name.
And his father, Janisar Akhtar, who was another big poet. So Javed Saab would be approached by a filmmaker, and you've interviewed his lovely wife, Shabana Azmi Naz, last time during the festival. But people will approach him that, look, we have a situation like this. Can you write a few lines of poetry so that we can make a song out of it? And so therefore, according to situation and halat, the conditions around it makes the person. Allama Iqbal, as you probably mentioned, was a poet of the East, come from Punjab, Sialkot, and also conceived the nation of Pakistan. He was intellectual enough to conceptualize a nation, in fact. Here in Ireland as well, we have also a poet who conceptualized the Republic of Ireland, W.B. Yeats. Now, Yeats is his house is just a road from my house. And Yeats was a poet who conceived the Republic of Ireland. That's why his picture used to be on the Irish notes before we joined the EU. So, these are the guys who, and of course you have many intellectual poets around the world. So poetry is a statement. In fact, a very subtle statement. People can be satirical. They could be funny. They could be, what we call it, a comic poet. That you have situation and you just come up with a couple of lines and that will make you laugh. And the what I call it, the laugh, the happy vocabulary of poetry is also very popular among people. When friends sit together in a family, they just crack jokes in poetry.
Yeah. I take it from Zaidi Saab's just mentioned the comic and funny and happy poets. Actually, इसमें ऐड कर दूं जो poet होता है ना, जो लोग पब्लिक द पीपल व्हाट दे कैन नॉट एक्सप्रेस वो उनको रिप्रेजेंट कर देता है. दैट्स व्हाई पीपल गेट अट्रैक्टिव टू हिम. व्हाट अ कॉमन मैन कैन नॉट से a poet say on behalf of them on a big scenario, on a big picture. वो किसी की वो उसको पिक करता है, the mood of the nation, the mood of people. वो उसको मूड को पिक करता है और उनकी थॉट्स को ऑब्जर्वेशन से पिक करके प्रेजेंट कर देता है आपको. तो एक शायर के अंदर उसके लोग बोल रहे होते हैं. हैप्पी हो तो वो हैप्पी वाला, फनी हो तो वो अपने कल्चर को शो करता है कि उसके कल्चर में क्या फनी चीजें होती हैं. और अगर वो एक मूवमेंट का हिस्सा बन जाए, जिस तरह के इकबाल का जिक्र फरमाया ज़ैदी साहब ने, तो वो एक नेशन की एक के लिए मोटिवेशन बन जाता है.
Interesting. Have you ever come across a particular poem maybe that made you feel such strong emotions, or some sort of awakening maybe? Any particular poem that you could maybe mention to our listeners?
Well, I mean, the current time that we are living in, every day we are losing friends and family members and all that. This is a very old poem. I don't know who said that. It's a couple of lines. A share about.
Please do share.
Yeah, it's a couple of lines, but it befits now because a lot of people are leaving us, and it's about maybe. Saeed Saab might have some suggestion who said this.
Irshad farmaye.
It's all about death. It says that maut uski ke jis pe zamana kare afsos. Maut uski. May I translate that, Nas, for you and the audience? Maybe.
Please do. I understand, but I think it would be good for our listeners. Non-Urdu understanding. It would be quite nice for them to understand too.
I'll translate it. Maut uski ज़माना करे अफसोस, यूं तो आए हैं सभी दुनिया में जाने के लिए. In other words, the celebratory death of that person who is being revered and acknowledged by the entire masses popularity and world. Otherwise, everybody leaves us, and everybody came to this world to leave the world one day, and it leaves the world one day. But those who are lucky one, who are revered and remember, and the world mourns for them. Remembers. Zamana means that the world, the entire globe, sad, and you do really feel sad for that person. That person is not related to you. That person is not part of your life and all that. But you do feel sad that what a man he was or she was, and she's no longer around, and he's no longer around. Otherwise, we all have to leave one day, as our holy scripture of Quran says that it is the reality of life.
जी, आपके क्वेश्चन को, there should be Urdu listeners who tuning and listening to you. तो उर्दू का देखें, उसका जो एक शेर होता है ना, उसकी जो क्या कह लें, उसका उसी जुबान में उसको पढ़ा जाए तो फिर ही उसका मजा आता है. उसको आप जितना भी एक्सप्लेन, आप पोएट को जितना भी एक्सप्लेन कर लें, यू कैन एक्सप्लेन अ पोएट्री एज मच यू वांट. बुक्स एंड बुक्स लिख लें एक शेर पे, लेकिन जो शायर ने कहा था ना अपने थॉट प्रोसेस में, दैट्स डिफिकल्ट टू रीच दैट. इस तरह आपने फेमस पूछा तो फैज अहमद फैज साहब के बहुत मैं मुतासर हुआ, उससे सब लोग ही मुतासर हैं. उन्होंने कि हम भी देखेंगे जब ताज उछाले जाएंगे, मतलब उन्होंने एक नेशन को फेस किया जब वहाँ पे हार्डशिप थी, और हमारा जो सिस्टम है, हमारा जो एक जगीरदाराना निज़ाम है, पाकिस्तान में भी, हिंदुस्तान में भी, बांग्लादेश में भी, रिच इज रिच, पुअर इज पुअर. तो उन्होंने पुअर की रिप्रेजेंटेशन की कि आई एम वेटिंग फॉर द डे कि जब इनको मैं जस्टिस पे लेके आऊंगा. तो इस तरह के बहुत से इन्फ्लुएंशियल उर्दू के शायर, उसके लिए आपके पास वक्त कम होगा अगर हम उसकी डेप्थ में चले जाएं, लेकिन मैं इनके ही ज़ैदी साहब के जो इन्होंने आजकल जो एक माहौल हमारे तरफ मौत का हो रहा है कोविड-19 का, उसके हवाले से एक शेर मैंने भी अपना खुद कहा तो मैंने ये कोविड से पहले था, लेकिन बड़ा फिट आता है, एक तरह की ये एक आस और उम्मीद है उसको जो इस दुनिया से जा रहा है उसके लिए, द पर्सन हु इज लीविंग दिस वर्ल्ड, उसके लिए भी एक होप दी है, और होप एज हम बिलीव करते हैं कि देयर इज अ लाइफ आफ्टर डेथ। तो वो शेर इस तरह है, मौत पर लगाते हो तुम जो हिज्र का इल्जाम, मौत पर लगाते हो तुम जो हिज्र का इल्जाम, बंद होंगी जब आंखें होगा यार का दीदार।
माशाल्लाह, वेरी गुड,
बंद
माशाल्लाह।
होंगी जब आंखें होगा यार का दीदार। इट्स मीन के इफ यू आर लिविंग दिस वर्ल्ड, डोंट बी वरी अबाउट इट। एक्चुअल मिलाप, एक्चुअल मिलना, यू जो आपका दीदार जो देखोगे आप, उस वो आपकी आंखें बंद होने के बाद लाइफ तो शुरू होती है। आप द ऑलमाइटी को तो आप उस वक्त देखोगे जब दुनिया से चले जाओगे, फिर उसके सामने जाओगे। तो मौत पर क्यों लगा रहे हो तुम हिजर का इल्जाम? ये तुम्हें जुदा करने का इल्जाम हमेशा जो शायर है ना, मौत भी लगाते हैं। वो कहते हैं ना, आशिक के हम मर के ही जुदा, हमें मौत ही एक दूसरे से अलग कर सकती है। तो मैंने इसको थोड़ा सा सूफियाना रंग दिया है कि मौत पर लगाते हो, मौत पर लगाते हो तुम जो हिजर का इल्जाम, बंद होंगी जब आंखें होगा यार का दीदार। When you will close your eyes, you will see another world, another yar, another Allah, another God, another Bhagwan, whatever you call it. So उसको ज़हन में रखो.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, obviously, we Muslims do believe very strongly the life after death, and that's the reason we don't say death. We call it intiqal. Intiqal means muntaqil hona. Muntaqil matlab, if you are sitting here today in your room, this room, and you move to kitchen and you move to outside, so you shift it from one place to another place, and that's what it is. This world, this dunya, is just only one place. After that, there are many dunyas, the many worlds, and one of the world is a world hereafter, and there are stages where. So this is only, as I said, you try to get through to the person who does not believe, who's an atheist, who's completely doesn't believe in our religion and all that. So they may have their own. And there are a lot of people like Jews who do not believe in the hereafter. Many people don't believe in hereafter, but poets have always talked about it. Many our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a poet. He did a lot of poetry, and that's why in Holy Book of Quran there is references throughout the different surahs that he's been known as a mad poet. Those who did not believe on him, he accused him for poetry and on all that. So poetry is, as I said, is in a strange way, and therefore you have people like mad people like Ghalib. You have a huge number of intellectuals, poets who have done nothing in their lives but poetry. Poetry was. I mean, Ghalib is the perfect example in the East and in the West as well too. I've seen so many Ghalib projects and Ghalib Nama, the letters of Ghalib, and of course the Mirza Ghalib, the serial Nasiruddin Shah has played Ghalib himself. That entire life he devoted on Shairi, and he was, as Saeed Sabat said, he was God gifted. He was God gifted. Yet at the same time, very little trust in God. He used to drink alcohol. He used to live a kind of a life. In fact, he said a lot of things, a lot of poetry about people who are praying salah, namaz and all that. So they are, how do I say, when the brain gets liberated, in fact, in thoughts, it crosses the boundaries sometimes, and this crosses the boundaries of limits of religion itself.
It's quite interesting, what you mentioned as well, and both of you come from very distinct career backgrounds, I'll be honest. So writing poetry for yourselves, because obviously Mr. Zaidi, you come from the entertainment industry, and then we've got Saeed, who comes from more of the science-based. How have you felt that your everyday routines and life experiences, how do you find using all that when writing poetry? Do you feel you've been able to write poetry from your other experiences, maybe, or other influences that you've had?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I born and grew up in a city which is known for poetry, which is Lucknow.
Yes.
Oh wow, Lucknow.
Lucknow. So
Big name, big name, big city, big name for the poetry.
in
Yes.
our environment, as they say in Lucknow, there is a saying: if you pick up a stone on this road, there will be a shire underneath, hidden,
Mhm.
sitting underneath. So everybody speaks a poetic language. They will abuse you with respect with poetry. Even they are annoyed with you. If they want to say bad word to you, they will use a very polite word and couplets to say that you do not get offended, you know. So again, language is Urdu language starts from Lucknow and all that. In daily lives, yes, your mind come across sometime you feel like writing it down something, from sometime you don't feel like writing it down. Those who are serious poets, and I do not categorize myself a serious poet at all. I'm an actor and I believe in, I write poetry, and I write film scripts and things like that, but I don't. My brother is who lives in Luton. In fact, he's a big poet. Uh,
MashaAllah.
See,
yeah,
you might know him then.
yeah, Zaidi.
Then I don't, I might have, because मेरा focus लंदन में ज़्यादा होता है. When any
Ah,
मुशायरा जाता है तो मैं लंदन कनेक्ट करता हूँ. यहाँ पे भी लूटन में भी हमने मुशायरे करवाए हैं, दोस्तों को इनवाइट किया. बड़े शायर आए, अमजद इस्लाम अमजद साहब तशरीफ लाए पाकिस्तान से, और इंडिया से ताबश मेहदी साहब तशरीफ लाए, और भी
बिल्कुल.
लोग आए हुए हैं यहाँ पे. तो उनको यकीनन मैं ज़ैदी साहब के भाई को will try to trace out and connect inshallah.
He's in Blandford Avenue near
Oh,
Barnford College, in front of Barnford College.
see.
And he's been invited by the Mushairas all around the world. He's from another, I mean, obviously he born and grew up in Lucknow, but he studied at Aligarh Muslim University, which is another
MashaAllah.
markaz for the poet, where Khayyam, the Shair for Umrao Jan, and all those Shairs have Muzaffar Ali Saab. You've interviewed Muzaffar Ali, the filmmaker who made Umrao Jan. All of those guys. Aligarh again is known for poetry and shairi. A lot of big shires come from, and then they moved to Pakistan when Pakistan was created. So all of that is a treasure, I would say. It's as beautiful as powerful as Shakespeare's sonnet or Byron, Keats, Shelley's poetry in England. You know, and it should be nurtured. It should be patronized. It should be mushairas should be conducted to keep the shires alive, and they should be looked after. So it's a treasure. That's what I'm saying. And in daily lives, as you quite asked me the question, in daily lives, sometimes, as I said, something hits you badly, and you feel like saying few words about it. You really feel like that I have to, because you are helpless. So you come down and you open the book and pen and you lift it and you write it down, few words, few poetry. So all of that is day to day, living does affects you, and it motivates you, it pushes you to say. And also I've heard a poem, and I basically at the end of that I kind of twisted and put my own flavor of current lifestyle that we are living, social media, WhatsApp, and all that. So just to fit that into a bigger poetry, a poet. So that's another thing that if you want, I can.
सुनाएं सुनाएं जी, इरशाद फरमाएं, इरशाद फरमाएं.
Irshad.
So this is this is about a lady, a romantic poetry. It says that खुद को इतना मत बचाया कर, बारिश हो तो भीग जाया कर, चांद को चांद लाकर कोई नहीं देगा, अपने चेहरे को जगमगाया कर, चांद को चांद लाकर कोई नहीं देगा, अपने चेहरे को जगमगाया कर, दर्द हीरा है, दर्द मोती है, दर्द आंखों से मत बहाया कर, दर्द हीरा है, दर्द
मोती है,
दर्द आंखों से मत बहाया कर, काम ले कुछ इन हसीन होठों से, बातों बातों पर मुस्कुराया कर.
बात बात पर मुस्कुराया कर, वाह।
बात पर मुस्कुराया कर, धूप मायूस होकर लौट जाती है छत, धूप मायूस होकर लौट जाती है छत पे, किसी बहाने तो आया कर,
आहा,
किसी
छत पे किसी बहाने तो आया कर,
पे किसी बहाने तो आया कर. And that reminds me of a picture of Naz on Bangladesh on a rooftop. She is actually with the middle of a lot of I think it's
nature, a lot of nature, a lot of beauty, and then someone want her to come on the roof.
flying up actually. That picture. Do you remember that picture
Nice.
of you in Bangladesh? In Bangladesh.
I don't think I ever go to the rooftops in Bangladesh, definitely to picturize that, but that's interesting.
A picture of you. I think you're standing on the rooftop of Bangladesh. Anyway, so and it ends with this. He said, "धूप मायूस होकर लौट जाती है छत पे, किसी बहाने तो आया कर." कौन कहता है दिल लगाने को? And this is what I twisted. It says, कौन कहता है दिल लगाने को? कम से कम आकर, कम से कम
आ जाया कर.
नहीं. कौन कहता है दिल मिलाने को?
कौन कहता है दिल मिलाने को?
कौन कहता है दिल मिलाने को? कम से कम व्हाट्सएप पर आके शब्दों को सजाया कर.
वाह. बहुत अच्छे. See, इसमें very light touch at the end he gave to the nice. This is observation. आपका सवाल जो था ना, your question was कि we have a different career background. उनका एक्टिंग है या और एंटरटेनमेंट है, मेरा मेडिसिन से है, तो how you say, उसमें मैं ये ऐड करूंगा कि हमारी लाइफ भी तो है ना उसके साथ.
Yes,
we also have a life. We also have a life out of work.
Yes.
और उसमें एक चीज आपको बताऊं, ये नोट करने की है, जो पोएट होता है वो very sensitive person होता है. You have to be a sensitive person to pick the things and feel in you. दूसरे का पेन तुम फील करते हो या अपना भी फील करते हो तो और ज्यादा बढ़ जाता है. If you representing someone else pain, वो तो है ही है. When you go through a pain, it कई folds बढ़ जाता है. तो एक तो पोएट जो है वो किसी भी कैरियर में हो, वो सेंसिटिविटी तो उसके साथ होती है एज ए ह्यूमन बीइंग, वो उसको स्टैंड आउट करती है. मैं जितने शायरों को मिला हूँ, दे वर सेंसिटिव. दे शायर जो है ना, मैं बड़े वसूख से ग्रंटेड कह सकता हूँ, दे कैन बी जालिम नहीं हो सकता, किसी का नुकसान नहीं कर सकता, किसी को दुख नहीं पहुंचा सकता. उसको होते रहे तो होते रहे. ही कैन बी सफर, but he don't make suffer others. वो sensitive होता है.
Very nicely put, actually. And Saeed, you're very regular as well to our listeners, and especially with your poetry. And my listeners have definitely asked me to ask you this. So how do your poems develop? Are you able to take us through the stages of how you create your own shairi?
Yeah. Look, I still have a book, very old notebook. If you see the condition, you will understand how many years old this is. This is my dad's.
Yes.
This says teacher's diary. That is I took it from my dad's desk. He was a teacher. God gave him Jannah. He passed away in 2016. So that mean I was that age. I was teenager when I start writing something. It wasn't that good as what I write now. उतनी अच्छी नहीं थी, लेकिन I started very early age going to this like in the college, at university. वो बज़्म अदब होता था वहाँ, बज़्म अदब, like you have one period on only talking about शायरी and things. So people going to the stage and Urdu के, because Urdu is my language, national language. mother language तो पंजाबी है, हम पंजाबी, तो मैं पंजाबी में भी शेर कहता हूँ. वो थोड़े से सूफियाना भी होते हैं, जिस तरह वारिस शाह, बुल्ले शाह, उनका रंग होता है, वो भी मैं आपको सुना दूंगा आखिर पे. तो ये मेरा शुरू जो हुआ ना, एज यू सेड द बिगिनिंग, हाउ आई डेवलप इज के मैं लिखना शुरू कर दिया अपने थॉट्स को ऑन अ पेपर. वो शायरी नहीं थी, इट वाज जस्ट रैंडम ऑब्जर्वेशन, रोट ऑन द बुक. तो फिर स्लोली आप डेवलप करते हो, एज यू गेट मैच्योर, ऑब्जर्वेशन से दूसरों को पढ़ते हो. फिर एक ऐसी स्टेज आई कि मैंने जाके खुद स्टेज पे कहना शुरू कर दिया. वो कोई सही था, कोई लूला लंगड़ा, अच्छा, इधर उधर का तुकबंदी कहते हैं उसको, कि कोई इधर से कह दिया, कोई इधर से कह दिया. वो आगे से दूसरे जो फ्रेंड्स थे, उनको बिठा के कहना यार सुन लो मुझसे, प्लीज लिसन माय शायरी, कि वहां पे कोई सुनता नहीं है, दे यू टेल देम प्लीज कम एंड लिसन माय शायरी टुनाइट। वहां से डेवलप करते हैं, फिर आपको कोई अच्छा उस्ताद मिल जाता है, वो आप में टैलेंट देख लेता है। इसी तरह एंटरटेनमेंट में भी यही होता है ना कि आप अर्ली स्टार्ट करते हैं। तो फिर जब मैं कॉलेज से यहाँ पे जब आया हूँ ना, यूके में, ब्रिटेन में जब मैं आया हूँ, तो मैंने एक चीज फील की कि मुझ में थोड़ा सा जो कुछ भी है इज अ लिटिल और मोर, थोड़ा है या ज्यादा है, अच्छा है या बुरा, जो भी एक उर्दू की मोहब्बत है मेरे अंदर, मैं आई नीड टू ट्रांसफर इट टू नेक्स्ट जनरेशन। किसी ने बहुत अच्छा कहा है कि अगर आपने अपनी नस्ल बचानी है तो उसको जुबान दे दो, वो बच जाएगी। अगर आप इन मुल्कों में आपका एक आपने अपनी नस्ल को बचाने की एक स्ट्रगल है, ठीक है, अपना कल्चर देना, अपनी जुबान, अपने तौर तरीके देना जो हमारे ईस्ट के हैं, तो उनको आप जुबान दे दें तो बहुत सी चीजें उनकी इजी हो जाएंगी। वो बोलना आप वो आपका आपके आपके पेरेंट्स से, ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स से टॉक करेंगे, उनसे बहुत सी चीजें वो अब्जॉर्ब कर लेंगे। इसीलिए कहते हैं कि जुबान। तो मैंने कहा अपनी जनरेशन को देने के लिए मुझे प्लेटफॉर्म चाहिए, तो मुझे प्लेटफॉर्म मिल गया लंदन में, कि वहाँ पे स्ट्रगल हो रही थी। बज़्म सुखन है, बज़्म आलमी उर्दू है, बहुत से लोग वहाँ पे लंदन में, मैनचेस्टर में काफी काम कर रहे हैं। सोहेल ज़रा खालिद साहब है, मुजफ्फर अहमद मुजफ्फर साहब है, हमारे यॉर्कशायर अदबी फोरम पे अमीर साहब है। तो इस तरह के लोग हैं, उनसे फिर मेरी मुलाकात होगी, तो उन्होंने मेरे अंदर उस चीज को देखा और हेल्प की, स्टेज पे बुलाना मुझे, और फिर थोड़ा सा अगर मैं गलत लिखा है कोई शेर उसको तौसीह कर देना, फिर और भी प्रैक्टिस एक्सरसाइजेस भेजते हैं वो, आप वो करते हैं। तो हाउ यू डेवलप योर स्किल्स विद टाइम। इज पार्ट टाइम शायर हूं मैं, आई एम नॉट क्लेमिंग टू बी अ वेरी बिग शायर। मैं पार्ट टाइम इसको करता हूँ, ऑब्वियसली मैं मेरी कमिटमेंट जॉब की है और भी है, लेकिन नस्ल को जो मोटिवेशन ने मुझे डेवलप किया स्टेप बाय स्टेप, वो जो एक टीन एज लड़का था जो कॉलेज में पढ़ता था, उसको यहाँ तक लाने में ये है कि वेस्ट में कुछ काम हो इस पे, उर्दू पे। जैदी साहब हैं माशा लखनऊ से हैं, इस तरह के लोग हमें चाहिए जो आगे आए, उर्दू पे, हिंदी पे, लैंग्वेज पे काम करें, और ये हम अपनी नस्ल को किसी तरह ये दे जाएं यहाँ पे। वी गिव इट टू देम अ गिफ्ट। वे पार्ट टाइम ही हो, बेशक उनका ये पार्ट टाइम ही हो, लेकिन वो इससे जुड़ जाएं। इफ दे गेट कनेक्टेड टू दिस, दे विल कनेक्ट टू द कल्चर, दे विल। मैं कहता हूँ कि यार हम देखें, सम टाइम आई लुक एट माय डॉटर, शी इज 9 ईयर ओल्ड ना, तो वो आपकी तरह उसको उर्दू समझ आ जाती है, लेकिन वो लिख नहीं पढ़ नहीं सकती। लेकिन मैं कहता हूँ कितना बड़ा मेरा लिटरेचर है, गालिब, इकबाल, मीर तकी मीर, बड़े बड़े लोग हैं, जवेद अख्तर साहब, और भी बहुत से नाम ले दूंगा मैं, गुलजार साहब, उन्होंने, और हमारे पाकिस्तान में अगर आ जाए फैज अहमद फैज साहब, अहमद फराज साहब, उन्होंने जो कुछ कहा है लाइफ के लिए, इनको पता ही नहीं चलेगा उन्होंने क्या कहा है। हाउ दे उन्होंने लाइफ को कैसे एक्सप्लेन किया है, इन बच्चों को कैसे पता चलेगा। हम थोड़ी सी स्ट्रगल कर लें। सो दैट्स हाउ आई डेवलप माई सेल्फ, उस पर वर्क किया। और फिर कुछ टाइम टू टाइम के टीवी पे भी इधर उधर मौके मिल जाते हैं, मुशायरे में चले जाते हैं, आप जैसे लोगों से, people like you help promote us to give Urdu, Hindi a kind of a voice to reach to the masses.
No, it's always a pleasure, honestly, and I can see we're running a bit low on time, and so I'm gonna ask both of you the very quick questions. Do you ever show anyone your work in progress works, or do you keep it to yourselves and think, I'll maybe show it to someone after, maybe when I'm fully satisfied with it? Or do you ever share your work with anyone when it's still in its progress stage? Mr. Zaidi, I'll start with you.
As I said, I say what I say. I don't think about showing it off to other people. If there is opportunity, yes, I will read out. I find it hard now to retain the poetry in memory, so I will read out opening the my text and would do that. But no, I mean, as I said, it gets accumulated as I go along, and it had been, as I said, a huge amount of, as Saeed Saab has got a lot of his inherited his father's thing. I have also written over the years a lot of things which are there, and I would write it down and I would leave it to simmer it, maybe perhaps to come back again, to read it again, amend it, to correct it, things like that. But no, I mean, I don't have an urgency to share it with other people until there's an environment, until there are people who understand, appreciate, because not everybody would understand, not everybody would appreciate what you say. And that is something which is, poetry needs aspirational audience, and unless you have a good audience who are appreciate, then only you would do that. But I would the reading of poetry in your own time. Now we are living in an internet with a huge amount of work that has been going on to put up all these big shires poetry on YouTube, on internet. So I think the best way is that to maybe you can self-record it and upload it, and maybe share it with people that way, and that's another way of
That's a good way as well. Yeah.
good way of doing that. So I mean, there's a lot of, as I said, a lot of poetry, a lot of shares. गालिब का एक शेर है, ये याद आ गया मुझे. ये संग दिलों की है दुनिया है, ये संग दिलों की दुनिया है, संभल कर चलना गालिब. ये संग दिलों की दुनिया है, संभल कर चलना गालिब. यहाँ पलकों पर बिठाते हैं नजरों से गिराने के लिए. Ghalib can be very cynical and very careful about things. He says that people are really,
lift you up to drop you.
Yeah,
they lift you up.
The platform. They will, and this is not it's a very mean world. In other words, in Ghalib's word, it's a mean world. They will, push you up and then they'll drop you. So these are the things. And nazar se nazar ka another word मैंने अभी recently कहा है. नजर से नजर मिला के नजर लगा गए तुम. नजर से नजर मिला के नजर लगा गए तुम. ये कैसी नजर लगी कि हर नजर में आ गए तुम. ये कैसी नजर लगी कि हर नजर में आ गए तुम.
हर नजर में आ गए तुम. Everyone knows you now.
Everyone knows. So these are the thoughts which comes to your mind, and I write it down. And this is the kind of thing that we should express ourselves. This is a way of expressing ourselves.
Absolutely. What I might do is I'll ask literally just the last question before we finish for both of you. This one, Aid. What words of advice would you give to someone who's looking to do poetry or looking to publish their poetry, particularly in these times? Saeed, I'll start with you. Any words of advice?
Look. Firstly, this question is connected to the previous one, that what I'm doing about my poetry, and so these both are connected. People can take it from here. I am working on a book, okay, which to compile a book of my poetry. I think I have some material which gathered with the time, and I had a few platforms on which I already mentioned. I go even in Luton and London and surrounding areas, and Urdu loving people comes and they join us. We get good gathering. We have a couple of TV shows on the TV on Asian networks. They come for poetry, Bazme Sukhan Urdu, this and that. So usme hai. So these are people are there to help you. So anybody who is actually looking for publishing their poetry or want to work on it, they can get connected to us, and there are people who will help you to get at that stage where you can have your own book. You can give something to this world, and they remember you for that. और उसके लिए यहाँ काम हो रहा है. हमारे दोस्त हैं ईस्ट लंदन में, कुछ दोस्त हैं. They publish here. They do everything for you. They organize also a gathering, a mushaira or a show, और इसको कहते हैं कि पजीरा किताब की रुनमाई हो रही है. किताब की रुनमाई हो रही है. उसको फिर लोग आके आपको एक प्रॉपर वो करते हैं. और इसके लिए काम है लंदन में. दूर जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. पीपल गेट कनेक्टेड टू अस. हमें कर लें, आपके जरिए मुझसे कनेक्ट करें. आई कैन से मैं भी उस पर काम कर रहा हूँ. आई वांट माय बुक टू बी कंपाइल एज सून एज. इट टेक्स टाइम. मटेरियल पे डिपेंड करता है कि हाउ मच यू हैव सेड एंड हाउ मच यू कैन डू एंड हाउ बेनिफिशियल इट इज. बट इज नो वेरी इतनी एक्सपेंसिव या वो नहीं है ये चीज. जस्ट जिसमें जो कमी है, जो इसमें एक कमी है वो ये कि यहाँ पे उर्दू लविंग पीपल में वो मोटिवेशन क्रिएट करना है. वो नहीं है. आप देखें, आप बुक्स पब्लिश करवा लें, फिर कोई उसको ले नहीं. तो सोशल मीडिया में ज़ैदी साहब ने जिस तरह फरमाया कि अपलोड करें, यूट्यूब पे ग्रुप बने हुए हैं, वहां पे जाएं. यू जॉइन द अदबी ग्रुप्स ऑन फेसबुक, व्हाट्सएप, उन पे जाएं, रेगुलर अटेंड करें. वहां पे आपको कनेक्शन सोशल मीडिया में तो कनेक्ट मिलता है ना एक दूसरे से. तो यू विल बी एबल टू get to the right people, inshallah. Definitely.
Sounds great. Mr. Zaidi, any words of advice you'd like to give as well, following from Saeed's words?
I think as all of that, which is Said said, is pretty much relevant, and that is obvious things to this day. And I think we ought to think in terms of new generations, as you have already mentioned before, and think about the new technology. You know, books have become an old hat now at this stage for children. I mean, I see my boys; they spend 80% of their time on screen. You know, either on the computer or on the phone or iPad and all that. So the more digital we will transform our literature, Urdu literature, particularly this poetry and all that, I would say a step forward, because it's easy to set up an internet channel, internet television, poetry dedicated to poetry, dedicated to Urdu language. And I think there is one, there is a ex Urdu service BBC person in Luton, or I'm not sure about exactly where it is, Mr. Raza Ali Abdi.
Razali Abdi साहब माशाल्लाह, I have a meetings with him.
Yeah,
वो
he's an
हाँ ये साउथ लंदन में, मेरा ख्याल साउथ लंदन में रहते हो जी
he's
जी.
an old friend. He's been mentioning that we're trying to absorb and to preserve through the new technology to transform that. Because I've spent some time in my student days in London with the BBC World Services Urdu section and Hindi section. We used to do program, and he used to be there. Mr. Yawar Abbas used to be there, and many other literary figures. So I think the next generation should join the digital platform, have and this is the new norm. This is going to be the future. COVID has given us a gift that we are now sitting here connecting on Sunday afternoon, discussing a very important subject, intellectual subject, something which matters for the new generation. And this is the gift of COVID, I would say. Before COVID, nobody has time to sit in front of, webcam and talk to each other and to connect with each other worldwide. So poetry itself, I would say that a channel, think about, say, about establishing a maybe internet channel, which would be a great, easy to set it days. As I said, it doesn't cost you much. A YouTube channel.
Actually, after this show, I'm just going to another one which is on poetry. We all the poets of London and surrounding areas. We having a conversation. We couldn't do any mushara because of this tier 4, tier 3 things. So just I think that is at 6 o'clock. We are 7-8 of us. We're gonna sit down and
brainstorm,
talk about poetry and do things. There are some few platforms, but as Adi Sab said, more you do is better. So why not? I will be thinking about this, having with the help of a bit of guidance from Naz, how to stream yard things and put things together. I might be able to do a poetry kind of shows. Yes, why not?
Fantastic. No, it's definitely been really lovely speaking to you guys. It's now hit 4 o'clock. Time to head off. But no, definitely, I really loved this poetry special that we had, and I'm sure our listeners really enjoyed it too. So yeah, and I hope you both enjoy the rest of your weekend as well. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Have a great.
Thank you, and take care to our lovely listeners who tuned in as well.
I'll finish your show with my 2 quick shares only, because this will be a message to everyone around there. कि किसी को जख्म जुबान एक जख्म इसको थोड़ा एक्सप्लेन कर दूं. वो ये है कि you hurt somebody with physically, तो वो तो heal up हो जाता है, लेकिन जो जुबान से आप किसी को हर्ट करते हैं ना, that stays forever. उस पे शेर है, ये देख के फिर जा रहा हूँ. तो ये जुबान का जख्म है, आखिर हरा रह जाएगा. ये जुबान का जख्म है, आखिर हरा रह जाएगा. मिल भी जाएंगे मगर एक फासला रह जाएगा.
बहुत खूब.
ये जुबान का जख्म है, आखिर हरा रह जाएगा. मिल भी जाएंगे मगर एक फासला रह जाएगा. You may meet again, but there will be always a distance if you hurt somebody with your tongue. So be very careful about the words you say for others.
Very good note to end on, and I hope our listeners.
I just एक बार और इरशाद फरमाएं.
ये जुबान का जख्म है,
आखिर हरा रह जाएगा.
आखिर हरा रह जाएगा. मिल भी जाएंगे मगर एक फासला रह जाएगा.
एक फासला रह जाएगा. मैं इसको चोरी हूँ आपसे इजाजत लेके।
नहीं बस आपका ही हुआ सर, आपका ही हुआ, जज़ाकल्लाह।
Lovely. I love this. Honestly,
अल्लाह
that's
हाफ़िज़।
the best part of having great guests.
Thank you.
Everyone, take care.
थैंक यू।